Check this out. A Camaro whipping through the streets of Chicago on the way for an Italian beef at the Bear. Cousin! NASCAR got noise and traffic complaints from people in the city. Whoa, cousin! It was a race. What were they thinking? Also, the latest on Shohei Ohtani, the latest on Damian Lillard's trade request, and the latest on Harden's latest trade request. Let's go around the horn. Oh, Angels fans, I feel you. You cannot fault Angels fans right now for thinking, what did we do to deserve this? So yesterday, Mike Trout put on the injured list, broken hamate bone, left wrist, possibly out 4 to 6 weeks, possibly surgery. Hours later, Shohei Ohtani pitching, and he was hit hard. And then he was lifted from his start with a blister on his throwing hand. He then didn't bat when his time came up later in the game. Now his All-Star week is in doubt pitching-wise, at least. It has some connecting dots from a blister to a cracked nail, to an elbow, to an arm, to a shoulder. I'm just going to throw it all on the table right now. Can the Angels survive this? Could it mean there would be movement and a trade at a deadline? Is this fluky or something worse with this team?
Well, the Angels' problem, Tony, is that they don't just have to survive this to get into the playoffs. They have to be better than how they've been with Mike Trout this season. Right now, they're 4 games back out of a wild card spot. Fangraphs has them with just a 20% chance to make the postseason. There are 9 teams ahead of them. And without Mike Trout, their batting average is just average. Their rotation is just average. I think at a certain point, and that point has to come pretty soon, they have to take a hard look in the mirror and realize that the only thing worse than trading away the best player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, would be having him walk after this season for nothing. And that seems to be where things are headed if they don't seriously consider a trade.
Israel Gutierrez, I'll bring you in here. Have we gotten to that point? Really?
It's a discussion that's being had already, and it was even before these injuries because obviously there's still a few games back in the wild card. And I don't know. I think it's hard to say, right? I think if you're in a baseball team, you recognize there's still a couple months left, or a couple plus, where you can still make that run after Mike Trout comes back. I know it's a small sample size, but in the 8 games he didn't start, they're 6-2. You know, the Ohtani's hitting .417 in games that Trout doesn't play. And so if they basically have to get away with not playing with Trout, they can maybe, stay afloat and make their run late in the season. Rendon has had a terribly injury-prone season. If he can recover from this latest and then finally get going late in the season, I think you almost have to give it, you have to give your organization, you have to give your fans, you have to give the team a try. You have to give it an opportunity, not sell Shohei. He's such a unique player. Play with him, end the season with him, see what happens, and if not, hey, at least you tried.
Kevin Blackistone.
Well, they're missing their 3 best players all of a sudden. Rendon, who's been injury-prone since he's been there.
I don't even know if you can count Rendon in your troika here, right? But sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And even Trout, who's been hurt on and off the last several years. He's missed a bunch of games. And even with them all being healthy, they were still, as Mina pointed out, in 3rd place in their division behind the World Series champion Astros, who are going to step on the gas at some point, and the Rangers, who are playing out of this world. So you really got to start thinking about what your roster is, what you got going forward, and whether or not you can afford to keep Ohtani, given what he could bring on the open market in terms of a rebuild.
Courtney Cronin.
They're 45 and 43 right now. Shouldn't be the time to panic, but this is a team that has to look at what's coming up after the season. Shohei said he wants to play for a team that's a contender when he signs his next deal. He could potentially go to the Yankees, to the Los Angeles Dodgers as a short-term rental. I think they're teams who are contending who would absolutely want to make that move. To the point that everybody's made, though, about missing their 3 best players. Think about how much money has been wrapped up in Rendon, in Trout, in Ohtani. That's 44% of their 40-man payroll. That's been annihilated in the last 24 hours. Really rough stuff for the Los Angeles
Is that
Angels.
fluky?
And I think you
Is that some
absolutely
type
have
of terrible curse
I
that's
don't
been
know,
put
Tony.
on
They've
this
never
team?
had a winning record since Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani have been on the same team. I don't know if that's cursed, if it's fluky, or if it's just bad injury luck here, but they have to start thinking about the future, and you don't want to let Shohei Ohtani walk away for free. You have to at least consider trading him before the deadline on August 1st.
I hear Mina say the same thing. If I'm running a team, I don't want to be known as the guy who traded away Shohei Ohtani. I just not, or Mike Trout even, you know? I want to be known as the guy who traded away everybody else, brought in everybody and tried to make them happy, you know? I get it. Losing him for nothing is bad, but that's on Ohtani than for leaving. Whereas here, I'm not the one who's sending him away for a future draft pick in years. Mina?
Yeah, you'll just be remembered as the guy that couldn't win with them and
Or,
then
yeah.
set the team up for failure after he left.
You're already
That'll
that
be
guy.
the
I hear what
legacy.
you're saying. I'll
you
give
know?
Israel the last word and we'll move on.
Yeah, you try to prepare for the future. What better future do you want than the best player in the game over the last decade and the best player in the game for the next decade? I think you kind of got to work with what you got.
You said, at least we tried. They don't give out trophies for that. Sometimes they give out cakes, at least you tried.
Not anymore?
But they don't give out cookies. We'll move on. NBA now, since we last talked. Free agency and everything that went down there. And the two trade requests, Damian Lillard and James Harden. Who do you want to start with here? We've seen one a million times. We've waited a million times for another one. Let's start with Lillard. Miami is all you hear. Is there anybody else? Israel, you're in South Florida. What is the Lillard trade market and where you think he winds up?
Look, it's a one-team trade market. It is Miami. We've seen this with so many other stars. We've seen this all the time. And with Damian Lillard in particular, the star who has been more loyal than almost all of those others, except for the ones who stay for their entirety of their career, but he has been more loyal and waited, 3 or even 4 years to be able to ask for this trade. And now all of a sudden you're not going to give him what he wants. You're not going to send him to the organization that he wants to go to. That's going to be a terrible look for you as an organization going forward. So that's just not something that they want to do. This is all posturing to try to make sure that they get, meaning Portland, what they want in return. And I'll just say this about what they're offering in return, meaning the Heat, if it is indeed a deal centered around Tyler Hero. This idea that he is not a valuable player in Tyler Hero, the guy who's, sixth man of the year, who's a fringe all-star player a couple of years ago, who started and averaged 20 points a game on this Miami Heat team. He is not some throwaway. He is a nice player that you can get back in a deal. So what Portland really should do is pump up Tyler Hero and what he can add to a team and sort of a new age C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard there with him and Simons. But there's only one team that Damian Lillard is going to go to, and that's Miami.
You have no doubt there. Okay. Now, I just wonder how much of this might be seen through Miami-colored glasses. Mina Kimes, I'll bring you in.
I'm sorry. The notion that the Blazers have to repay his loyalty by accepting the worst possible trade out there, that they're worried about the terrible look that it would send. Oh, man, all the free agents clamoring to go to Portland are going to change their mind because they didn't give James Lillard exactly what he wants. That doesn't sit right by me. The argument for Dame having leverage and for Miami being the option that I am far more sympathetic to is less about optics and more about teams maybe being reluctant to trade for Dame if they truly believe he does not want to play for them. That is why I do think Miami is still the most likely outcome, but I also think it's probably going to take a multi-team, probably a three-team trade to get it done because the straight-up trade is such a bad return. If you can at least involve a team like, Brooklyn or Toronto, maybe get some picks headed Portland's way, it'll seem a bit more palatable to the Blazers.
So most likely outcome is what we're hearing. Here's a definite outcome for a word you used earlier in your discussion. See, she doesn't even know. That's what makes it so good. Cordy Cronin, I'll bring you in here on Lillard. And is there any market other than Miami?
My heart says Miami. My brain says the Los Angeles Clippers somehow coming into play here because James Harden gets traded there and then Damian Lillard ends up in Portland. I understand the loyalty aspect here, but both Dame Lillard and Portland kind of messed up in this whole thing. Portland should have traded him 2 years ago and not given him the contract extension, which ends up affecting his trade value. But Dame also used Portland to get the max. So both are, I don't know if you want to assign blame or put fault on here, but Portland's not going to get the sort of return that the Oklahoma City Thunder got for Paul George going to Los Angeles Clippers. They're not going to get the Utah return of the 4 or 5 first-round draft picks. A third team has to be involved here to make this trade worthwhile. So I think the where Philadelphia 76ers come into play here, they've got a very disgruntled James Harden. If they're able to move him to the Los Angeles Clippers, take the draft capital, assets, and flip that into a Portland trade, maybe Dame ends up in Philadelphia, and they've got a new backcourt with Pat Bev, and then Joel Embiid's happy.
Okay, now I'm following you, and now you've connected our two puzzle pieces here, Lillard and Harden. Is it that way for you, Kevin Blackistone? Is that our path to out of these multiple trade requests?
I mean, that is one path that's out there, certainly. But, another one that's out there that we haven't talked about is maybe the Boston Celtics, who have been the most fearless team after the end of the season in getting rid of a guy like Marcus Smart, who's the heart and soul of that team. You know that Jaylen Brown has always been, the last couple of seasons have been uncomfortable about how he's been treated by the front office there, or valued, I should say. The moves that they've made, maybe Dame Lillard could wind up going to Boston and Jaylen Brown could wind up leaving there and going to Portland.
So you've got more moves now. Listen to Kevin Blackistone. Came out
because we know that Dame said he wants to be with a contender, right? So what better contender if you can't do the Miami thing than going to Boston?
Israel, what's on your mind right now?
Well, it's the idea that this Miami package is the terrible package and that we're trying to get all these other players for Portland. Here, I have a simple question for Portland. What are you doing? Are you rebuilding, or are you trying to build a champion right now? Because if you're rebuilding, you're never going to get a superstar for Damian Lillard, even if you did get Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown going to win you a championship as your number one guy anytime soon? No. So you take the one with all the draft picks, you take the one with the younger players. Portland's clearly having trouble deciding what they're doing because they signed Jeremy Grant to a huge deal, which makes no sense whatsoever. It was just a recovery deal just in case Damian Lillard were to go elsewhere. How does that make sense if you're rebuilding? So, look, the idea that the Miami Heat trade is the worst possible trade, I think is just flat out wrong. And the idea that Portland has this leverage and they can create this great team by trading Damian, that's just not going to happen. So just buy into the rebuild.
Tell us how you really feel, Israel. Mina, last word. I'll let you get back in.
So the argument is just because you overpaid Jeremy Grant means you have to doom yourself to mediocrity instead of embracing a rebuild?
No, the argument is they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I'm trying to tell them what they should do. Rebuild.
I'm intrigued by this combo package here. Get Harden involved, get Lillard involved. Everybody who's involved in a trade request all in one move, moving different people. Did you see Harden this weekend? 4th of July party? With the Sixers owner, Josh Harris. Who goes to the party with the owner of the team you just requested a trade for?
Literally.
White party, too. You guys look like you're rocking a white party today. I like the look. We'll be back by ourselves next.
Our invite got lost in the mail.
Let's play a game. Anybody know the total number of dollars spent in NBA free agency as of this afternoon?
$2 billion.
Courtney Cronin coming in. I mean, just 1.9 and change, but I'll give you the bonus there. Billions of dollars are moving, right? And hasn't really been megastars. A few solid rotation guys, a few all-stars, but that is wow money. Israel, what are you buying as the biggest wow signing?
To me, it's Fred VanVleet with Houston, the 3 years and $40 million plus per. And it's partially because you looked at what they had going before this, and it's a very young team, drafting Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith from last year, Jalen Green. But you're putting defensive pieces around them in a Dylan Brooks and solid veterans around him in Fred VanVleet and Jeff Green. I really like what they're building there in Houston.
Kevin Blackistone, biggest wow signing.
Well, you mentioned Dylan Brooks. I mean, this guy got clowned out of the NBA at the end of the playoffs. Some people were talking about him winding up in China, but he gets a 4-year, $80 million deal to do what he's been doing since he's been in this league, and I think that's pretty
So you're
remarkable.
both circling Houston and the moves they've made, and in your case, Dylan Brooks. Courtney Cronin, how about
Brooks.
you?
When I say wow, it doesn't always reflect something good. Sometimes it's wow, what are the Portland Trailblazers doing giving Jeremy Grant a 5-year, $160 million extension? Look, I know that if he would have walked, that means that Damian Lillard was going to ask for a trade. Well, about 14 hours or so after they give him this deal, Damian Lillard asked for a trade anyways. Jeremy Grant makes the same amount on an average annual basis as Jason Tatum. He is not the same player as Jason Tatum, and now they're stuck with him, a team that has Shaedon Sharpe, that has Scoot Henderson, that's pretty soon not going to have Damian Lillard and is moving in a completely different direction. And now they've got Jeremy Grant on the books for 5 years.
The fireworks were last night, but you guys are bringing it today. Tell me how you really feel, Courtney. And Mina Kimes deciding that makes you say, well?
I'm going to go wow in a different way and do a deal that made me say, wow, that's a good deal. I was surprised that the Lakers were able to retain Austin Reeves for 4 years, $56 million. Talking about a guy who was the third best shooter in the postseason, plays excellent defense. I thought he would get like $100 million. So for them to bring him back on that kind of deal, that made me say, wow.
Team? Which team you have buying has done the best so far? Kevin Blackistone, you want to sell that?
Well, I'll pick up where Mina left off, and I'll talk about a team that apparently didn't really do much in this free agency period, and that's the LA Lakers. They were able to retain their core. They went out and got somebody like Cam Reddish and Prince and got some size with Jackson. And so they believe that the moves that they made in the middle of last season are going to improve them this season. That very well could be the case, especially with somebody like Rui Hachimura.
Wait, you lost me there. So you think the Lakers didn't make enough moves?
No, I think that they made their moves during the regular season, midway through the regular season, and they are going to double down on those by not making any huge moves during this free agency period. Comfortable with their core.
Oh, okay, because a lot of people give them one of the highest grades this offseason. Courtney Cronin.
I think that the Lakers are absolutely deserving of this grade because they didn't do what they normally do, which is go star chasing. They didn't chase Fred VanVleet. They didn't chase Kyrie Irving. They ended up going and prioritizing their young stars in the postseason. No, they dared other teams to give Austin Reeves a max, and then they ended up not having to match that offer. They got him on a really good price, and I think this core, that what you have right now, a team that was 19-8 after the trade deadline last year, you give them a full year with Darvin Ham, and imagine where things could go this offseason. Plus, these are some tradable contracts. If things aren't going according to plan, you can do what you did last year and rework this team again at the trade deadline.
Israel, it doesn't seem like you're buying. If you could just focus on the Lakers for a second.
Well, I mean, look, I think they're a Western Conference Finals team, which is what they were last year. And yes, if they run it back, can they get a little bit better? Sure, they can get a little bit better. But I think LeBron James, if he's going to be in control of that team for much of it, probably going to be a little bit worse, probably going to suffer through some injuries. Same thing for Anthony Davis. So I think they needed to, even though they felt good about what they had last year, I felt like they needed to upgrade. I think the team that I really like is the Golden State Warriors. I mean, I'm not going to overlook a 4-time champion getting re-signed to his team and being the key figure in allowing them to run it back essentially and try to win another championship. And they've already done the more difficult part of moving Jordan Poole's contract on and getting Chris Paul in return. Jordan Poole became unplayable at a point. Chris Paul only becomes unplayable if he's actually injured, which he kind of is a lot.
Yes. Okay, and Mina Kimes.
I do like the Lakers and the Warriors. I'm going to reward the Suns for a high degree of difficulty because when they did the Bradley Beal trade, I assumed they would be so top-heavy they'd have to fill out the rest of their roster with aging veterans on minimums. Instead, they brought in some useful and kind of young, outside of Eric Gordon, who's not making a lot of money, help. Yuta Watanabe, bring back Okogie. Those are good signings, and this team suddenly looks a lot healthier than I thought.
Horn comes in quick. No buy or sell 3 this afternoon. Mina Kimes, Kevin Blackistone. Thanks for joining us today. Though you look like you could walk straight to a clam bake. I mean, this is an incredible look for this panel today. Love it. Gutierrez, Cronin. That'll be our showdown next.
What's a clam bake?
Never been to one either. I don't know. I mean, I was just grasping. Cubs Brewers, a thriller on the 4th of July. Ian Happ had an outfield assist in the 10th to save the game. But he one-upped that with an outfield assist in the 11th to save the game. This game also had ejections, ball and strike fight. First base coach tossed for that. It also had a roof debate. You know, closing a roof in the middle of the game. Are you allowed to do that? How does that happen? Cubs manager Dave Ross got heated, got ripped. In the end, when all the fireworks were done, Cubs got the win. Israel, what's the favorite part of the thriller?
Well, my favorite part is David Ross complaining. First of all, complaining about the roof being closed, which the effect of the roof being closed is the same for both teams. But after a win, you're just supposed to keep quiet, don't say a word. Just say, hey, the umpires were great today. Save it for a loss.
Those cheating Brewers were no match for the Cubs. The home team has a discretion, keep the roof open or closed, but it has to stay that way throughout the entire game unless there's inclement weather. There was sun on that field. No reason to close it.
Cheating Brewers, Courtney says, the one from Chicago. Very interesting. Cubs won the game. Chicago gets the point. We'll move on. NASCAR Chicago Street Race is what we talk about next. Shane Van Gisbergen in his Camaro winning the race, a Kiwi. It's his first NASCAR race, and he won it. Like I said, a Camaro whipping through the streets of Chicago. That's what we're here for, right? This is authentic. This is NASCAR going for something different. 4.75 million watched on NBC and Peacock. The weather didn't cooperate, and the city received some complaints about noise and traffic. Not sure what they think it was going to happen. Courtney, was this fun to watch? Should it be back now that they have complaints?
It was absolutely fun to watch. I love seeing my city in that light. I also love that people get to experience what it's like during rush hour at Jackson and Michigan Avenue with that 11-car pileup.
At Israel?
Yeah, if there's anybody here today that knows Chicago, it's me. And trust me, they don't want that.
No. I like this, the Netflixification, going for F1 style street racing. Courtney, your pop loves street racing, right?
Sure did. The annual Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest was not the only display of athleticism. On Independence Day, the Peachtree Road Race taking place on July 4th in Atlanta. Ethiopia's Senberi Teferi was within striking distance of the finish line. She follows a police car off track. She ends up costing herself $7,000 in winnings.
No!
Wow.
They should give her the motorcycle that she followed. That's what they should do.